I opened my eyes to a pounding headache and silk sheets that weren't mine. My hand felt heavy, a gold ring gleamed on my finger. Soft silk sheets tangled around my legs, sheets that were way too luxurious to be the scratchy cotton ones in my tiny apartment. I blinked against the bright morning light streaming through massive floor-to-ceiling windows. This wasn't my room. This wasn't even my neighborhood. Panic bubbled up in my chest as I sat up too quickly, the room spinning for a second. My heart started racing. I'd gotten blackout drunk last night. I tried to piece together the memories. A friend's birthday party at that upscale club downtown, free drinks flowing, laughter, and then nothing. Everywhere became blank. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, my bare feet hitting cool marble floors. The room was enormous, a penthouse suite by the looks of it, with sleek modern furniture, abstract art on the walls, and a faint scent of expensive cologne lingering in the air. My clothes from last night were folded neatly on a chair nearby, but that didn't ease the knot in my stomach. Who folds clothes like that? And where was my phone? Before I could search for it, the door clicked open. A middle-aged guy who looked like he stepped out of a magazine. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair perfectly styled and a jawline that could cut glass, walked in. He wore a tailored black suit that screamed money, and his eyes, those dark, piercing eyes, fixed on me with an intensity that made me freeze. He crossed his arms, leaning against the doorframe casually, but there was nothing casual about the aura he gave off. Power, control, danger. "You're awake," he said, his voice deep and emotionless, like he was stating a fact rather than greeting someone. I swallowed hard, pulling the sheet up to cover myself even though I was still in my boxers. "Who are you? What is this place? How did I get here?" He didn't move, just watched me with that cold stare. "Damien Blackwood. And this is my penthouse. As for how you got here..." He straightened and walked over to a side table, picking up a piece of paper. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed it onto the bed beside me. "You tell me." I grabbed it, my hands shaking. It was a marriage certificate. Official, stamped, and signed. My name, Elias Reed, was right there in black ink, next to his, Damien Blackwood. The date was yesterday. "This can't be real," I whispered, my voice cracking. "I don't remember any of this. We got married? How?" Damien's expression didn't change. He slipped his hands into his pockets, looking almost bored. "You signed it?" "We both did. At the club last night. Witnesses and everything." I laughed, a nervous, hysterical sound that echoed in the room. "This is a joke, right? Some prank? I don't even know you." His eyes narrowed slightly, the first crack in his icy facade. "No joke, and you might not know me, but I know enough about you. Elias Reed, 24, part-time barista, drowning in student loans, no family to speak of. You were at the club, got a little too friendly with the drinks, and here we are." The words hit me like a punch. How did he know all that? And friendly with the drinks? I wasn't a heavy drinker. Something felt off. "I was drugged," I said, the realization dawning. "Someone must have slipped something in my drink. This is kidnapping or fraud." Damien sighed like I was an annoying child. "No one's kidnapping you. But you're not leaving until we sort this out. My family's reputation is on the line." "Your family?" The name clicked then, Blackwood. The Blackwoods weren't just billionaires, they were the Blackwoods. Whispers in the city about underground deals, political strings pulled in shadows, rivals disappearing. Mafia ties hidden behind legitimate businesses like tech empires and real estate. Damien Blackwood was the heir to all that. And now, apparently, my husband. "Stay here," he ordered, turning toward the door. "We'll talk more later. Don't try to run, the building's secured." The door shut with a soft click, leaving me alone with the certificate crumpled in my fist. Fear mixed with confusion as I sank back onto the bed. What had I gotten into? This cold, powerful man held my life in his hands now. But as terrifying as it was, a small part of me wondered if there was more to this than a random mistake. The penthouse felt like a cage wrapped in luxury. I spent the first few hours after Damien left searching the room, drawers, closets, even under the bed, for my phone or any clue about what happened, but nothing. The door to the hallway was unlocked, but when I stepped out, two burly guards in suits stood there, arms crossed, eyes forward like statues. "By Mr. Blackwood's orders, you're to stay inside," one said without looking at me. I retreated back to the bedroom, my mind racing. How could I have signed a marriage certificate without remembering? I paced the floor, the cool marble soothing my bare feet but doing nothing for the storm in my head. The view from the windows showed the city buzzing below, people going about their lives, free, while I was stuck up here like some fairy tale prisoner in a tower. By afternoon, hunger forced me to explore further. The living area was massive, leather couches, a massive flat-screen TV, and a kitchen stocked with gourmet everything. I made a sandwich but it tasted like cardboard. That's when Damien returned, his presence filling the space like a dark cloud. He loosened his tie and sat at the kitchen island watching me eat. "You need to understand the situation," he said, his tone still flat but less dismissive. "My grandmother is ill. She's the matriarch of the family, and her will stipulates I must be married to inherit the empire. She arranged for someone to facilitate this last night." Facilitate? I set down the sandwich, anger rising. "You mean set me up? Drug me? That's illegal." He rubbed his temples, looking tired for the first time. "I didn't know about it until this morning. She has her ways. But now it's done, and annulling it would cause scandals we can't afford. Rivals are circling. The Givian family has been pushing into our territory. Any weakness and they strike." I stared at him. The Blackwood Empire wasn't just business. It was a web of legal and illegal operations. Casinos for laundering, tech firms for surveillance, all under the guise of philanthropy. "So what? I'm supposed to pretend to be your husband? Live here like some trophy?" "For now," he said. "Play along and I'll clear your debts. College loans, rent arrears, all gone. In 6 months we can quietly divorce and you'll walk away rich." It sounded too good, but his eyes held no warmth. This was a transaction to him. "And if I refuse?" His gaze darkened. "You don't want to find out. The family doesn't take no for an answer." That night, I lay in the guest room, separate from his, thank God, staring at the ceiling. Loneliness washed over me. I had no one to call. My parents died in a car accident years ago, and friends were casual at best. The ring felt heavy on my finger, a constant reminder. But as I drifted off, I replayed Damien's words. He hadn't chosen this either. Maybe there was a crack in that cold exterior. Or maybe I was just fooling myself to survive. The next day brought more reality. Damien handed me a credit card. "Buy what you need. But don't leave without security." I nodded, wondering why he was acting all of a sudden, by allowing me step out after 3 days of what I could call a house arrest. A week in, Damien announced we were visiting his grandmother. "Be on your best behavior," he warned as the limo pulled up to a sprawling estate outside the city. Guards patrolled the grounds, and the house itself was a fortress of stone and iron gates. Victoria Blackwood awaited in a sunlit parlor, propped up in a wheelchair. She was frail, but her eyes were like daggers, sharp, calculating. "Come closer, boy," she croaked, beckoning me with a bony finger. I approached, forcing a smile. Damien stood beside me, tense. She looked me up and down, her lip curling. "This is who you married? A nobody from the streets?" I expected better for the Blackwood name. "Grandmother," Damien said evenly, "it's just for a while." She waved him off. "You'll live here now. Attend events, smile for the cameras. Make it look real. If you embarrass us..." Her eyes bored into me. "Your little life will end in ways you can't imagine." I swallowed, nodding. No family of my own meant no leverage against me, but the threat hung heavy. We stayed for lunch, a tense affair with servants hovering. Victoria's comments were relentless. "Clumsy hands," she snapped when I reached for water. Later in private she grabbed my wrist. "Know your place, commoner." Her grip left red marks. Damien saw but said nothing then. On the drive home, silence stretched. "She's always been like that," he finally said. "Control is her life." "Why not stand up to her?" I asked. He glanced at me, something flickering in his eyes. "Family duty." Back at the penthouse, I nursed the marks in my room. Loneliness deepened. This world was cold, wealth a weapon. But that night, an ice pack appeared on my door handle. No note, but I knew it was Damien. A small act, but it sparked curiosity. Was the cold boss hiding a softer side? Days blurred into routines. I worked as Damien's assistant, pretending to be his partner, fetching coffee during meetings where men in suits discussed acquisitions that sounded shady. Victoria called often, her voice cutting through the phone. One evening, she visited unannounced, criticizing everything. When I defended myself mildly, her walking stick swung, bruising my arm. Insolent. Damien walked in mid-swing. His face tightened, but he only said, "Enough, grandmother." She left in a huff. Later he found me in the kitchen. "Let me see the bruise." His touch was careful as he applied ointment. "She won't do that again, I promise." I looked at him a bit sober. 6 months is going to be a long time, and I don't know if I can tolerate all of this. Living with Damien was like walking on eggshells. His cold demeanor kept me at arm's length, but small moments started cracking the ice. He worked late most nights, his office light spilling into the hall like a beacon. I'd hear him on calls, voice low and commanding, dealing with business that made the news, corporate takeovers masking mafia moves. One evening I couldn't sleep. The penthouse felt too quiet, too vast. I wandered to the kitchen for water, and there he was, pouring coffee, shirt sleeves rolled up, revealing toned forearms. Our hands brushed as we both reached for the pot. The contact sent a spark up my arm, warm, unexpected. "Sorry," I mumbled, pulling back. He didn't let go immediately. "You don't have to apologize for everything," he said, his voice softer than usual. Our eyes locked for a beat too long. "Then what do I have to do?" I asked, frustration slipping out. "Pretend this is normal?" He set down the cup, leaning against the counter. "It's not normal for me either. But you're handling it better than most would." The compliment caught me off guard. "Why me? Out of everyone, why did your grandmother pick a random guy like me?" He hesitated, then sighed. "She didn't pick random. Your father, he worked for us once." My breath caught. My dad had died in an accident years ago. Was it connected? "I will talk about it when the time comes," he said, turning away. But the curiosity in his gaze mirrored mine. I went to bed that night with a load of disturbing questions on my mind. Grandma Victoria's cruelties continued via phone or visits. "Useless boy," she'd say, her words like needles. One afternoon she cornered me in the study, slapping my face for eavesdropping. The sting brought tears, but I held them back. Damien found out that evening. "What happened?" he demanded. "Your grandmother," I said quietly. His jaw clenched. "I'll handle it." He did. Calls were made and his grandma's visit stopped for a while. Protection, subtle but real. Nights brought more glimpses, shared dinners where he'd ask about my life before, my dreams of art school. "You're talented," he said once, glancing at my sketches. Curiosity grew into something warmer. One rainy night, thunder shook the windows. I found him on the balcony, staring at the storm. "Can't sleep?" I asked. He shook his head. "Storms remind me of my parents' death air crash." At that moment everything went cold. I stood beside him, eyes widened in disbelief. We were both orphans whose parents died in cruel accidents. "Like mine?" I whispered. We stood close, rain misting our faces. His hand brushed mine, lingering. The air charged with unspoken tension. Damien's protection became my secret lifeline. He rerouted my duties away from anything involving his grandmother, assigning me light tasks in his office instead. "Help with files," he'd say, but it was an excuse to keep me close. Mafia tension simmered. Whispers of the Givian family, rivals pushing drugs into Blackwood territory. Guards doubled and Damien's meetings turned intense. One night an alert blared, a suspicious car outside. Damien burst into my room, pulling me under the bed. "Stay down," he whispered, his body shielding mine as guards swept the building. His heart pounded against my back, breath warm on my neck. "Are you okay?" I asked after the all clear. He nodded, but his hand lingered on my shoulder. "I won't let them touch you." The words hung between us. Later, in the library we talked for hours, him sharing family pressures, me opening about my lonely past. "You're stronger than you know," he said. A twist hit hard. Rummaging for papers I found an old file. My father's name, a ledger, and notes on the accident. Heart racing, I confronted Damien. "Did she kill my parents?" Damien looked at me, eyes tensed. "Who are you talking about?" "Your grandmother," I replied coldly. Damien's face grew paled. "I suspected. But no proof." Anger surged, but his vulnerability softened it. "We'll find out," he promised. The slow build between us ignited in small sparks. An accidental hug after I tripped. His arms steady, scent of cologne enveloping me. "Careful," he murmured, holding longer than needed. Confrontations turned heated. "Why act like you care?" I yelled one night after a rough day. "Because I do," he shot back, stepping close. Our breaths mingled. Then his lips crashed onto mine, Intense, desperate, full of pent-up emotion. Hands in hair, bodies pressed, but we pulled back breathless. "What was that?" I whispered. "I think I'm developing interest in you," he said, forehead against mine. The kiss replayed in my mind constantly. Damien's touch had been electric, his usually cold demeanor cracking to reveal raw passion. We avoided talking about it at first, but the tension thickened the air whenever we were alone. One evening, as rain pattered against the windows, he found me in the living room. "It was a mistake, right?" I asked. "The kiss." Damien gave me a soft smile. He took my hand, thumb tracing circles. "You're in my head, Elias." We talked then, vulnerability spilling out. The conversation turned intimate, his fingers intertwining with mine. Another kiss followed, slower, deeper, emotionally charged without crossing lines. But his grandmother's threat loomed. She called Damien, her voice poison. "That boy is a liability. And the contract." But Damien hung up, face dark. Madame Victoria escalated, introducing Sophia Givian at a dinner. The dinner was a nightmare. Sophia was elegant, connected to the Givian Empire. Madame Victoria beamed. "She is your real fiancée," she announced. "For the alliance. Annul that sham marriage with the weakling," she said with authority. Damien's eyes met mine across the table, apology in them. Duty warred with desire. I felt betrayed, storming out. I excused myself, heart-shattering. In the hall, tears fell. Damien followed. "Elias, wait. Is it true?" I asked. "You'll marry her?" He cupped my face. "No, I choose you." "Is this all a game?" I confronted him later. "No," he said, pulling me close. "I love you. I'll prove it." We confessed everything that night, love blooming amid chaos. But the file's revelation hit hard. Madame Victoria's orders for the accident of my parents. The file revealed more. Victoria had orchestrated my parents' death to cover a botched deal. Proof in emails. Damien's face paled. He vowed to help me seek justice. We planned confrontation. But she struck first, leaking scandals about me to the press. She leaked stories, calling me a gold digger. War with the Givians exploded, an ambush on Damien's convoy. The ambush was terrifying, gunshots echoing, and unfortunately Damien got hit. Damien staggered in, grazed by a bullet. He returned home wounded, blood on his shirt. "What happened?" I asked in shock and disbelief as I helped him to the couch, cleaning the wound. His pain mirrored mine. "You could have died," I said, voice breaking. He pulled me close. I bandaged him, hands trembling. "I thought I'd lost you," I whispered. We went to the hospital that night for fear of him losing so much blood. In the hospital, he held my hand. The next morning, Madame Victoria visited, threatening. "End this nonsense or I'll destroy him." Damien was weak and couldn't really say much. I told his grandmother that I was going to leave if only she doesn't threaten me anymore, and give me some days to help Damien to fully recover. She scoffed at my boldness, but I saw a sigh of relief on her face. She stormed out after I promised never to appear before her again. After she left, Damien opened his eyes and asked me why I told her I was going to leave. "I had to," I replied, "but if you really want things to work between us, then we have to look for a way to expose her tricks." Damien told me he had been working on how to deal with things and expose her. But the only way to do that is if I work according to the plan. I nodded, having a new reassurance that things were still going to work out fine between us. A week later, Madame Victoria arranged for Damien's engagement to Sophia. The Blackwood Gala was opulent, chandeliers, elites mingling. Madame Victoria announced Damien's engagement to Sophia. And just then tension choked the room. Damien grabbed the mic. "I reject this farce." Murmurs rose. My grandmother, Victoria Blackwood, forced my marriage to Elias, who is currently the victim in this whole mess. "But part of it is actually the best thing that's happened to me," he said. "She's manipulated us all, causing the death of Elias' parents who are also victims of her treachery and desire for power. Grandmothers are supposed to be the most loving people to their grandkids, but unfortunately, mine chose to bring me nothing but pain. I will never forgive her, and I wish for her to spend her last days in prison." "What are you talking about?" Madame Victoria's eyes widened in disbelief. Damien didn't even look at her. He exposed the files and gasps filled the air. "You ungrateful idiot," she yelled, but the security escorted her out and she was handed over to the cops. Damien strode to me beaming with a smile. "Elias, will you marry me, for real this time?" Tears streamed from my eyes. Yes, I will marry you. He kissed me publicly, vowing protection. With Madame Victoria gone, disowned, facing charges, the empire was Damien's. We rebuilt, honest and strong. No more shadows. Our real wedding was small, intimate. We moved to a quieter estate, away from the city's glare. No more pretending, he said. Our vow was on a beach at sunset. Friends, colleagues and well-wishers. I promise to protect and love you, he said. The ring felt real now. Nights were filled with talks, laughs, intimacy. Mafia threats lingered, but his arms were my safe haven. We'd built something real from chaos and lived a beautiful life thereafter. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe for more interesting BL stories. Thanks for watching, see you next time.